Let's do this on three. 1, 2, 3. This is my Bible. It is Yah's word. It is the inspired, infallible word of Yah. It is a lamp unto my feet. Blessed are those who hear the word of Yah and keep it. I find out who I am, and the pages contained herein. This is my Bible. Good morning, everyone. Hope that everyone is blessed and highly favored today. Today's message is titled The Prosperity Gospel. Now, I always try to do something a little different each time. Now, this will not be me attacking the prosperity teaching that some American churches do. Enough people attack them. If you want that, that's another video, that's another message. So, it's not what I'm going to do. Because also, the reason why I will not, because most people that love to bash those type of pastors that have the private jets and the fancy cars and everything like that, a lot of it is rooted in jealousy. And I'm not jealous of those guys or those individuals. Because if they got the call to replace them, they would in a heartbeat. They'd say, do I get the private jet too? This will be us speaking about biblical prosperity, not about you can get the new job and the new car. And I'm not against new jobs and new cars. But we're going to look at what the Bible actually says about prosperity and what it means. The first verse I want to go over is the how to get prosperity. And this comes straight from the man upstairs himself. We're going to go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 through 8. After the death of Moses, the servant of Yah, Yah said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I am about to give them to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert of Lebanon and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Don't have verse 6 through 8 on there. I love when I make mistakes because it doesn't allow me to think I'm perfect. So pastor gave me a Bible to have up here. He had no idea I was going to need to read from it. So we're in Joshua chapter 1, verse 6. Verse 6, be strong and courageous, for you will lead my people and possess all the land I swore to give their ancestors. Be strong and very courageous. Obey all the laws Moses gave to you. Do not turn away from them, and you will be successful in everything you do. Study the book of the law continually. Meditate on it day and night, and so you may be sure to obey all that is written. Only then you will succeed. Yeah. So it says in other translations, if you obey the law that I gave Moses, you will be prosperous. Now, this is a New Living Translation I read from there, but in the other versions it says, I gave Moses the rules. If you follow the rules, you will be prosperous. You will have prosperity. Now this is Joshua, who took over as leader of the Israelites from Moses. And how does Yah say that we get prosperity? He says, do not turn from it. Do not go to the left of the law. Do not go to the right of the law. He's the man that would not lie or change his mind. So he didn't say, I don't feel like that anymore. I no longer care about if they follow my rules or not. He said, follow the book that I gave to Moses. Because in the Bible, and I've talked about it, when it says the law, it is not talking about the 10 commandments. It is also not talking about the 613 commandments that are found in it. It's talking about the Torah. If you look at when it says the law in the New Testament or the Old Testament, it always translates to the word Torah, which is what? First 5 books of the Bible. So, Yah told Joshua, if you guys want prosperity, follow the rules and commands and everything, the examples I gave you in the Torah. But then people say that's done away with, and then they wonder why they aren't prosperous. Are you following his instructions? Are you going to the left of it or the right of it? Oh, I'm just going to eat this. Oh, I'm just going to do this. When we had Mother's Day last week, someone in my family, because when people break the dietary laws, they always want to say something to me about it as if I'm Moses or if I'm Yah. I'm just Darren. And then they were getting something that was classified as unclean, and I said, oh, we're eating that? And they said, well, I'm just having 2. I don't know in the Torah where it says there was a limit about how many you could eat before it's officially unclean. But then we wonder why we're not prosperous. We wonder why things don't go our way when we don't follow the instructions. Because again, all of us in here that are in attendance have children. When our children don't obey the rules, there's consequences. They don't get things that they normally wouldn't get. The big thing now that we love to do is take away electronics. And you wonder why in your life, spiritually, your electronics have been taken away. And then you're like, why did this happen to me? The devil's busy. No, you were busy. And that's why you lost it. Imagine if your kids try to use the devil as the excuse against you. Oh, you didn't do your work? Oh, the devil wouldn't let me do my homework. Y'all would not buy that. If I said that to my parents, I would have got... I don't even want to think about what would have happened to me. I probably would have a scar on me if I tried to say that. Or they would have said, well, we're doing an exorcism right now. Get the bucket. See, some of y'all never had to get the bucket, and it shows. Let's look at another verse. Proverbs 21:21. Whoever pursues righteousness and love and finds life, Whoever pursues righteousness and love, finds life, prosperity, and honor. So if we pursue righteousness and love, we will receive prosperity, according to this proverb. Now everybody knows one of the most cliche verses in the Bible, Jeremiah 29:11, that Yah has plans to prosper us, right? So he has a plan, but we have to adhere to the plan. We have to follow the plan. Because again, we have plans for our children and things that we want for them, but how often do they follow that? Right. And we can see I truly feel, and this is not in my notes, I truly feel that our children are how Yah sees us when we're disobedient. And so when we get mad at them and taking everything away, why is my child doing this? I can only imagine how our Heavenly Father is like, well, why is he doing this? Why is she doing this? I constantly give them the right formula to do. I constantly give them the instructions. They keep going to the left, keep going to the right. I told her not to talk to that dude no more. I told him to delete that girl's number. I told him not to do that job. But then we wonder why our children are so disobedient. We can't obey our Heavenly Father, but we want our children to obey their earthly parents. Some of us were on the plan that Yah had to prosper us, but then we got off the plan. Now, when prosperity is usually mentioned, we think of money all the time. And this becomes a huge issue in the American church because money is everything in this capitalistic culture of ours. Now, this isn't an anti-America or anti-capitalistic preaching. But then, when we think, since we always liken prosperity to money, and then we look at our culture in America today, where so many of the wicked people make up the richest people, and I'm not bashing rich people either, to be clear, but wicked people being prosperous are what we think of prosperous, because that's the key part. Wicked people having a lot of money and having a lot of power is not new to this country. Let's go to the book of Psalms and see a very relatable situation. Psalm 73, verse 1 through 7. Surely, Yah is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart. But as for me, my feet had almost slipped. I had nearly lost my foothold. Now we can already relate to the psalmist here. For I envied the arrogant. How many of us envy the arrogant at times? Most of the music we listen to is a bunch of people being arrogant, and we wish we had what they had. For I envy the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Now this is over 3,000 years ago, and this psalmist is seeing the 1% have all the money, and he envies them. Verse 4, they have no struggles. Their bodies are healthy and strong. We see these people on TV and on social media, and we think they don't have any problems. We're so busy watching somebody else's story that we lose sight of ours. They have no fear from common human burdens. They are not plagued by human ills. It's just really sad that we look at the snapshot of what people share and think that that's their real life. We have these celebrities and then they die from an illness. Like, oh, we had no idea they were sick because they didn't share that part. We only see the good. We only see the highlights. If you we have the NBA playoffs going on right now. If you just watch the highlights, you would think these are the best players to ever play. They never miss a shot, according to the highlights. Verse 6. Therefore, pride is their necklace. They clothe themselves with violence. From their callous hearts comes iniquity. Their evil imaginations have no limits. Now, it sounds like some people I know we call oppressors. This psalmist starts off saying that he knows Yah is good to Israel, just like we know that Yah is good to us today. But then we see the enemies of Yah prospering. And then we can't make sense of that. Why are they living so well? Because we always liken prosperity to financial success. But if you look at those people's lives, it is nothing to be envied of. Like I was having a conversation with my wife, and we were talking about, people when they have parents and then this and then that. And I said, our 43rd president of America, he had both parents in his house. He was very rich, and he was on crack. So it doesn't matter. It's up to the person to make these decisions. We can't say, since I don't have the cookie cutter life for my children, their lives are going to struggle. No, we have the Most High on our side. It doesn't matter what situation is. Because how many times have we seen these rich people and their kids be in worse trouble than anybody else? And have drug problems and all these other problems than anybody else? We see the enemies of Yah prospering, and we're like, make it make sense. You said that we will be the head and not the tail. But when I look outside, we doing a whole lot of tailing. And the enemies of Yah are out here being the head and prospering all over the place. And again, this is not a new practice or a feeling, because 3,000 years ago, somebody wrote it down. Our ancient ancestors felt the same way when they saw other people prospering. But again, true prosperity has nothing to do with financials. Now, that can be part of it. But let's continue. I'm going to go to Job chapter 22, verse 21. It states that submit to Yah and be at peace with him, and in this way, prosperity will come to you. Now in context, this is Job's friend telling him that if he does all of this, his life will get in order. But the question to you is, have you submitted to Yah? The word for submit that is used here in Job chapter 22, verse 21, is the only time it's used in Scripture. I'm just figuring out if I want to pause there or not. Because in our culture today, we have turned the word submit into a dirty word, especially for women, because I need a wife that's going to be submissive. And we've turned that word into a dirty word because women are like, I don't want to submit to no man. But the word, because when they were using the word then, it didn't have the same meaning as it does now. A word that we have now when we're talking about wives submit to their husbands, and everybody glosses over that the previous verse, it said for husbands to submit to their wives, but that's another sermon. The word that we have today that better fits with it would be cooperate with your husband. Not submit to your husband, cooperate. And then everybody glosses over the next part that says, if it's fitting to the Most High. But back to the submit in Job chapter 22, verse 21. This is the only time that word is used in the Hebrew scripture. And it means to be in service, to be profitable. So you're in service to someone, but the end goal is to come out on top. So we need to be in service with Yah with the goal of, I'm going to be on top because I'm on his team. So it doesn't matter what everybody else has going on. Somebody else might have got a raise, but I know that where I'm at, it's going to be good whether I get a raise or not. Because I do this prayer every week at my church, expenses decreasing, so I don't have to get a raise to come out on top. Because how many people get more money, but then their lives don't get better? Because they're not good with money. As Pastor always says, you had Boone's Farm taste, and now you went to the top shelf. You didn't stop being an alcoholic, you just got more expensive alcohol. You were betting in dice games, now you're betting on FanDuel. Like, it doesn't matter if you're just replacing one problem for a more profitable problem. You didn't take care of your Honda Accord, you're not taking care of your Mercedes-Benz. But we are to be in service with the expectation of receiving something, and something as in prosperity. Now again, prosperity doesn't always mean money. It can be peace. Some of you guys are tormented, or in the past were tormented. Either tormented mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally. You are tormented because you have not submitted to Yah. That's not me saying it, or me trying to curse you. The word says it. We need to be in submission to Yah as well as in service to Yah. In Deuteronomy 28, it states that if we do not serve Yah joyfully and gladly in our time of prosperity, then we will suffer when we're not in it. But what are you doing with your prosperity? And again, this doesn't have to be finances. Let's look at another overly cliche Bible verse. We're going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 through 8. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, not because your mom says so. For Yah loves a cheerful giver, and Yah is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. So let's look at this. Because I make fun of my mom whenever she starts talking about tithing, and I'm like, oh, you must be the high priest Caiaphas. Checking what's in the basket. But it never says because we always quote this verse, reap what you sow generously, reluctantly, all of that, but it never says anything about money. It never says whoever gives silver coins. It never says that. It never says who gives money generously. It just says whoever sows generously. You can sow your time. You can sow your gifts. I tell people all the time that your smile or your shoulder to lean on is more vital than the best sermon I've ever delivered. Because that can penetrate someone's heart more than any words can. It's like, I'm glad that that person smiling to me made my day. Let's look at a woman that sold something truly special to our Messiah, and we'll see that something prosperous clearly isn't financial. We're going to go to John chapter 12, 1 through 7. Sip from the sponsor. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here, a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, as she always did, while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Now, before I get to verse 4, just know, as in real life, just as it was 2,000 years ago, there's always a hater in the group, right? Somebody always got to say something. Can't nobody let nothing good happen without bringing something down. Verse 4, but one of his disciples, Judas the hater Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. Now, John interjects here and says he did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. Leave her alone, Jesus replied. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. Now, I love in this story that John calls Judas out. Because in the other gospel it says one of the disciples said, why did you do this? John's like, oh no, we don't rock with Judas. He's a hater. In Matthew, when this story is recorded, Jesus replies and says, why are you giving her a hard time? She has done a beautiful thing for me. Now, it doesn't say that just because the perfume was expensive, what her gift that she gave to him was the beautiful thing. That is what she was sowing, was this act of service to him. Now, it states that the perfume was worth a year's worth of wages. Now, imagine how much money you made last year. Now, you all recently did your taxes, hopefully. Now, imagine someone put all that money that you made last year onto somebody's feet in one setting. You're like, oh, you probably would be like Judas and be like, bruh. So, we have a year's wages. Now, if you have an expensive Bible, if you actually have it open, or if you have the YouVersion app, it should state that a year's wages would be 300 denarii. Now, we will come back to denarii later. But we have to deal with money-hungry Mr. Krabs, Judas, first. Now, we are going to learn something new. We're going to relearn something Pastor told us years ago. And we're going to finish with a great closing that will hit you square between the eyes like a headshot on Call of Duty. So, let's relearn something first. Let's look at Judas. Matthew chapter 4. Oh, I didn't do it again. That's great. I have it here. Let's actually open our Bibles and go to it. Matthew chapter 26, 14 through 16. I'll give you a second to get there. We've been too reliant on technology anyway. What if the power goes out? Let me know when you're there. So we used to have to do back in the day. Verse 14. Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over. So let's see why this is important. For most answers, we'll go to the Torah. First, in Genesis chapter 37, Joseph gets sold into slavery for 20 pieces of silver. Spoiler alert, this is the same amount for the transaction that occurred for Judas and Jesus. And it has nothing to do with inflation. Let's keep in the Torah. In Exodus, it states if a servant is killed, then the price to be paid is 30 pieces of silver. The price of a slave is stated to be 20 shekels, but if the slave is to die, it is 30 shekels. So, since Jesus was to die, it's 30 pieces because he's a God of pattern, right? He made the rules. He has to follow them. Now let's learn something new. So we have two different mentions of currency, right? We have denarii and we have shekels. We have 300 denarii and 30 shekels, right? We're following? All right. I'm here to tell you that a shekel is just the measurement of a silver coin. Meaning, a shekel is a silver coin. That's all it is. A denarii is a piece of silver. A denarii and a shekel are the same thing. You can do your own research to figure that out, but it is. The shekel's just a measurement because that's how much it weighed. But we're all talking about pieces of silver. We're in a country occupied by Rome, so we're using their currency. Just like in this country, this is America. We use what kind of currency? American currency. So if I say I have 3 dimes, or if I say I have 30 cents, I'm using 2 different words, but they mean the same thing. Right? I could have a quarter and a nickel. I could have 30 pieces of copper. That'd be weird to carry around. But it's both 30 cents, right? So, how much was the perfume that Mary used? 300 pieces of silver. And how much did Judas betray Jesus for? 30 pieces of silver. Judas betrayed Jesus for a tenth of what the perfume cost that he was so upset about. Because this is the first thing he did after that situation. He got called out in front of Jesus, and he was like, I was about to make some money here. Then he's like, the next thing that he's mentioned, he's out here trying to make some money to betray Jesus. So he betrays Jesus for a tenth of what Mary used, a tenth or a tithe, if you will. But that's another message. Now, for the Call of Duty headshot. And he's leaving right during the Call of Duty headshot. It's 2 sentences. It's 2 sentences and you can go. This is the closing. It's 2 more sentences, and then it's time for the whatchamacallit, or whatever. Don't look at your watch. It's summertime. We judge Judas for betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, but forget that we betray Jesus every day for far less. Poetry snaps.